we believed we could win it all at this point, right? Like, we made it to the semis and we were like, we can do this thing.
Hello, and welcome to the Kick It with Katie podcast. I am your host, Katie Colliker, and thank you for joining me today. Today's episode is going to feature an interview I did with Jonah Knubel, who is from Utah and played for Sparta United. And I'm excited to share his journey and his story with you. Please make sure you give me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe. Make sure you share the podcast with teammates, other parents, coaches, whoever you might feel needs to hear these messages from these players and sharing their experiences. If you have any questions for upcoming interviews, please make sure to email your questions to kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com, and that is in the show notes. Also, if you would like to be interviewed for the show, you can reach out to me through email or on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at kickitwithkatiepodcast and _ between all the words, which is also going to be in the show notes. Make sure you follow me on Instagram because I'm going to be doing an upcoming drawing, and you'll want to make sure that you have followed me so you can get that information when the drawing occurs. I'm excited for today's interview, and here is my interview with Jonah Knubel. All right, so this is your opportunity to just tell your story. Earliest memories, soccer memories, where you played growing up, just anything about soccer and you growing up. I mean, I've obviously watched you grow up playing soccer, but I want you to share your story about how you progress through youth soccer.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll just kind of start from the beginning. So I started playing when I was really little, like just from when I was a little kid, barely able to walk. I just started kicking around with my brother and dad and stuff like that. Then quickly got into just like rec leagues, when I was like 4 years old. Did really well in those. Just kind of kept progressing with my dad mainly teaching me all my skills and stuff like that. When I was 8 years old, that was in 2012, is kind of when I started to make the switch from rec leagues to Sparta. That was the year. In 2012, I went to Tennessee with this AYSO summer select team that we put together and played in a fun tournament there, and I was playing up. So that was really fun. That was kind of my last hurrah with just like AYSO non-competitive soccer, and it was super fun. And then, okay, I guess actually it wasn't, because then the next year I played comp and AYSO at the same time. So originally I was with Steve Crosby. My first year with Sparta, I was on the second team, and then I was guest playing with the first team, which was coached by Justice, and I was doing really good with that team, and I really liked the guys on the team and everything. So then the next year, when I was like 9, I switched over to that team and started playing with them. I knew it was going to be a lot different than what I was used to, just as far as coaching and stuff like that, because before I was just used to like rec, soccer and stuff like that, and just kind of just having fun. And like my first game actually on the team, I look back and like laugh on it now and think about it all the time, but my first game was in La Roca Cup, and we were playing against who ended up being kind of our rivals back then, the Wildcats. And literally it was my first game with the team, and Justice made me captain, started me in the midfield, and like 5 minutes into the game, he subbed me out and was just really frustrated with how I was playing. Just sat me down for like a good deal of the game, and I was like, okay, this is a lot different. I'm gonna have to kind of start to get thicker skin and be ready for having to take it, stuff like that. So then, I mean, I kept playing and playing hard and liking all of my teammates. I guess another funny thing, just as far as like events with Justice, was when we were like 10, there was a game that we played in the regular season where we didn't even lose. We tied it like 1-1, I think. And it was a super rainy game, so it was, rainy games are always kind of weird. It's kind of hard to find a win. But after the game, we had to get on the line and just run sprints for like a pretty long time, just going to the 18 and back. I mean, that's just one of those ones that like I remember because it was so funny how we tied. We didn't even lose, but we still, just that competitiveness that Justice was kind of teaching us. Looking back now, I'm like really glad it happened. In the moment, it obviously was terrible because we were so tired, but it was a good one to remember, honestly, because I kind of learned that like just tying was still, in our eyes, not a great result. I think one of the early best memories was when my team, I think this was when we were around 13 years old. We always dominated in Utah really well because that's just how it went. Like we did really good against Utah teams. But this one season when I'm pretty sure we were 13, we started out just super bad. I think we lost our first 5 games of the season, which was like kind of unheard of for us and for really any of Justice's teams. Just one practice, he pulled us together and just said, "Look, I know we're having a very, very tough start to the season, but if you guys commit to me, I'll commit to you. If everyone shows up to practice every day and we work really hard, I promise you guys will be state champions." Having, one of our worst starts to the regular season I think we ever had. We worked really hard, and then when state cup came around, we were ready and we ended up winning state cup. So that was one of the best early memories for me, was that like starting, that terrible, then we went on to win the state championship, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
last year before the age split too. So it was kind of our last year, all of us together, and the fact that we were able to win it was pretty awesome. So that was definitely one of the best memories for me. Then I guess I could get into ODP stuff as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think around when we turn like 14 is when ODP kind of starts coming into play. It was fun, but there's stuff I definitely wish could have gone differently. So our first region team that we had was a pretty good group of guys all playing together. That was the first time I like didn't start for a team. I don't know, wasn't used very much. So that was like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. It was the first time I like kind of realized there was other like really good players out there, because like I didn't play a ton. Yeah,
Humbling.
it was humbling. I didn't play a ton in that first ODP championship tournament. I just played like at right back. That happened. And then ODP regionals was the same thing, super humbling. There's great players there. That first year, I don't think I even made the region pool. So that was, that again, just humbling, because for a while there, when I was younger, like before ODP, I kind of didn't really see any other players that were near my level, which I was super duper good when I was younger. I think as we got older, just things leveled out. I'll talk about regionals of 2019. So 2019 was just the second time my team won state cup. Let's see, 2019. That means we were 15 years old. We won state cup, like I said, just the second time we had done it though. I think we went to the championship like almost every year of state cup, but we only won it 3 times. And this year we had a pretty good team, so we went to regionals after we won state cup, And that actually something that interesting that happened that tournament was we had kind of a quarrel going on like within the team between our goalkeeper and another big leader on the team, and it was kind of affecting games honestly because they were just yelling at each other during games and it wasn't really helping anyone. And it kind of affected that first game, I think, because we tied that 1-1 and we should have won it. So for me as another captain on the team, that was a cool moment I like to think back on, that I like back at the hotel, I like pulled the whole team together in a room and had like a team meeting, just the team, and we just kind of worked out the conflict. And then after and that's putting it in simple terms, like working out the conflict. It took a little bit, but we got things sorted out. They made up, and then the rest of the tournament we were much more together, and we ended up losing in a penalty shootout in the semifinals, which was really tough. But I was really proud of how we pulled out of that and how I kind of handled the situation and was able to not let things escalate.
That's the regionals that I cut my head open, and I really met a lot of the parents on that team because I didn't really know a lot of the parents on the team, and that's when I cut my head open. I don't know
Hmm.
if you guys really knew what happened, but I know your mom was one of the ones that was helping. And
Yeah, I totally remember that. I remember just sitting like having a post game talk, and one of your kids came running over to Justice and like was freaking out, so he had to take off and uh and go help you. I totally remember that now. Yeah, yeah. We
yep.
and you bring up a good point of our team, our parents. We That was one of my favorite parts of our team was all the families. Like I really like had a great relationship with pretty much every single family on our team. And that was pretty great to have a team that was like so together, not just the players, but even all the parents. Like there's a lot of youth teams out there that like, parents yell at each other, yell at kids on the field, and I really don't think that was the case with us. We had a good group.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that sorry, I'm kind of getting on a tangent now just about our players and our families, but like our players, I still talk with old teammates like all the time about how cool it was, how good of friends we all were. I think personally, I think that like the
And
best
still are.
asset any yeah, we still are. Like I think the best asset of any sports team, it doesn't matter the sport, is just like team chemistry and unity. And that was definitely one of our strongest attributes. We were in it together. We all had each other's backs, and yeah, we were great friends. So I miss that a lot about playing with that team. It was super fun. But moving forward, that was 2019. So then we were super ready for the next season, and we were just planning on winning everything right in March when we were getting ready for National League. Obviously, everything stopped because of COVID, and then regionals didn't happen that year, so we never really got our shot. So that was kind of like a pause in everything. During that summer, actually, it sounds silly, but I got mono, and it actually affected me pretty hard. It was like 2 or 3 months. I was just very ill from it, got super out of shape. So then when I came back, like at the end, kind of somewhere in the summer, and started training with the team again, I was super out of shape. But I just worked, hard at practice and a little outside of practice, and I
Mm-hmm.
was able to get my fitness back pretty well. So that wasn't super tough, but it was a little bit of a bump in the road. But then we go to 2021, and this is the last thing I'll talk about with like the team, and then I'll talk about a little more like personal stuff with soccer. 2021 was like our big year. We actually didn't even win state cup. We we choked in the semifinals and lost to Forza. But I mean, that didn't stop us from doing what we wanted to do that year. We just went and won Desert Conference, and we won National League. So once we won National League, we were qualified for the national championship tournament, which was always, kind of our goal that we wanted to get to. We wanted to go play in nationals. So that was a really big deal. And then when summer came around, we had regionals up first since we won Desert Conference. So we honestly were kind of looking at it as a chance to get ready for nationals. That was the tournament that I think all of us, like on the team, realized just how good of a team we were. I always thought of us as being a good team, but like just so many, other teams in the nation could compete with us easily. But at that regional tournament, like we just kind of walked through everyone, and it was really fun. One personal part for me, I guess, about that tournament was I started off. So with me in positions for the team, I was kind of all over the place. I think of myself well, no, I am a midfielder. I always played center mid, but then there was times when I would have to move around and play center forward or winger sometimes, or if there was no one available, I would have to go back and play center back and even keeper sometimes. So I kind of was used all over the place on the field. That tournament, I had started out playing center forward, but then things changed up. Someone else went into center forward. At the start of the knockout rounds in the quarterfinals, I started on the bench, which I never liked it because, I like to play, obviously. I'm competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And that first quarterfinal game was against Forza, who we lost to in State Cup, and we were a much better team than them. But for whatever reason, sometimes we just had weird dilemmas with in-state teams, and we went down 1-0. And then I went into the game at midfield, and I'm not taking credit or anything, but I like to think I kind of helped calm us down and bring us back into that game. So I again, I'm not trying to boast, but I think I did a good job helping us make it out of that one. And then
Mm-hmm.
I started the semifinal. I think I had like 2 assists in that game, and we won 4-1. And then we cruised through the championship game and won that 3-1 too, with me in the midfield again there. So I that was actually, I felt pretty good about that one because I was able to get in there and do my thing and help the team. So we won regionals, which was huge, obviously, for us. I think we were just like we were one of the first to boys teams to win region. Yeah, second. The other was the O1s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
From Utah.
yeah. From Utah. Yes. So then it was just time to get ready for nationals. Going into it, I think I was set to play center mid during that tournament, but then Jordy, our center forward, like got hurt, so I had to step in and play center forward for that tournament. And our first game was against the Portland team that we beat in the regional championship. And I don't know what it was with our team, but for whatever reason, it was so hard for us to play a team, and like we would always win the first game, but the second game was always, if we played them twice, it was always so hard to win the second game. So that first game we lost 2-1, even though we should have tied because we scored an equalizer right at the end. The ref called back for a
Mm-hmm.
handball, which was very questionable. So we lost that first game. Then the second game, we bounced back. We won. And another good point here is just again, just to reiterate, like how together we were. We were all in it together for that tournament, and we were just doing everything we could. Then the third game was against defending champs Real Jersey, who's from New Jersey. It was kind of the scenario was pretty much like we win and we go through, and if we lose, we could still maybe go through, but like some other stuff would have to happen. We won that game. I was proud of myself because I scored 2 goals in that game and we won. And so we advanced. Then the semifinals came around. We fought super hard in that one too. I'm pretty sure the team we played was from Philadelphia. At this point, we were just like super. Yeah, we believed we could win it all at this point, right? Like we made it to the semis, and we were like, we can do this thing. So we made it to the semis, beat that team 2-1, and then it was championship time. Before, I mean, you obviously know what happened in that game, but some of the stuff that I do take away from that game is I'm really proud of what we were able to accomplish at least. And I had one of my during that game, I had one of my coolest moments with Justice. For years, I was used to just like if I was playing bad, just getting yelled at and getting subbed off, and just him yelling at me and telling me what I was doing wrong. But in this game, the first half, I started out really bad in that game. I didn't get like super nervous often before games, but right before the national championship, I felt it in my chest. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a national championship game." And I got a little nervous, and I started out pretty bad in that game. Had some bad touches and just wasn't really confident on the ball or anything, and I just wasn't playing like myself. So he subbed me out. Wasn't mad or anything. He just put his arm around me, and I can't remember exactly word for word what he said. The gist of it was, "We're here now. I need you to just have fun and just play your game." And it totally calmed me down, and I was like, "Okay, you're right. I need to just have fun." So second half, things didn't go our way for the team, but I would much rather say I played terrible in that second half and we won the game, but I did I did play much better in that second half. I was much more confident on the ball, and I can at least look back on that. But as you know, we were leading 1-0, and with 15 minutes left in the game, we just had a little defensive breakdown, and they scored 3 goals on us and won
Mm-hmm.
3-1. And I've gone back and watched that game like a few times. We weren't like playing bad in that moment. I don't think it was just a little a little breakdown that gave them the chance, and they scored a really nice goal. And then the second goal was just their like 6'5" center forward jumping over our not as tall defenders to get the second goal. Then after that,
Mm-hmm.
we were just pushing super hard to tie it. So since we were so far up, they just were able to counter and score the third goal. So I don't know. That one was really tough because I felt like we were the team who was meant to win. I still think about that game all the time, actually. I can't imagine players who like are professionals lose championships and stuff like that, because that must be like so hard to forget about, because I like literally I'm not even a youth player anymore, and I still think about that championship game pretty much
Mm-hmm.
every day and just like kind of envision it going differently. So that was tough, but I guess it's the way it is. So that was our very good year. So then after that summer is when I had kind of one of the toughest personal trials I've had. So right at the start of State Cup that year, we were looking good as a team. I was back to playing attacking midfielder, and I was in pretty good form and everything. I was feeling good. And another important part of this is that at this point, I was pretty sure I wanted to play college soccer. I guess I'll put a pin in that for a second. So, in the first game of State Cup, in the first half, I took a ball from Mark, our center back, from 3 feet away, just straight in the side of the face, super hard. It was clear. It was a clear concussion. Like, we have it on tape now, and I'll like show people, and they kind of laugh because I like I literally almost fall over in it, and I'm like clearly like looking around, like all confused, totally lost. But
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just shook it off. And as athletes, it's really hard to listen to your body for some reason. So I wasn't really paying attention to my head. I kind of shook it off and just kept playing. And then in that game, I headed it 5 more times or something. Big drop kicks out of the air. I played in the next game and I practiced, and I was going to University of Utah football game and stuff like that. And I was concussed during all of this. So I think that all just made it worse. Long
Mm-hmm.
story short, I ended up being out with a concussion for like 5 months. It was really hard because I mean, you can I probably imagine why that was tough. I had to do a bunch of exercises to try and get better and stuff like that. I obviously couldn't play soccer that whole time or really do a lot of the things I love doing with like friends and stuff like that. And I obviously lost some skill with the ball and fitness. And this is all during senior year. So it was kind of the prime time of deciding what I was going to do for college and where I was going to go. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to play college soccer, but during this I kind of had to ask myself if it was really worth it to, cuz like once you get a bad concussion, you're really susceptible to more. And I kind of
Mm-hmm.
had to think about it. And by the way, side note, I wasn't like being recruited by like multiple D1 schools or anything like that, but I did have a lot of D2 interest and a little smidgen of interest from a D1 school, but like not like an offer or anything. But they did want to see me play live because colleges like to, see you play live before anything
Right.
really happens.
Right.
But I mean, they couldn't because I was concussed for 5 months. And I also say that not trying to sound like one of those guys who, says like if it weren't for my injury, like I'd be playing with Messi or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But it did create that type of obstacle being out for 5 months. No, they couldn't see me play live, and I guess I probably once I did get better, I probably still could have made it to like a D2 school. That's when I sat down with my parents and like talked about things, and they wanted their my parents were super supportive and wanted me to do what I wanted to do. And I was like, well, I could go to like a small school and just get concussed again and keep having this problem and have things not really go many places. Or I could go to like the University of Utah, which is a school I've always really loved and have a good time there, which was obviously super hard. It was very emotional because, for the longest time, it was my dream to pursue soccer. It's always kind of a crazy thing, like having to accept that things change and like priorities change because really for the longest time I thought soccer was going to be my thing that I went all the way with, but I kind of realized that it's okay if things change and priorities change and you take a different path because everyone has a different path, right? And I still
Mm-hmm.
love soccer with all my heart, and it's always going to be part of me. And I think I'll probably get into like coaching one day. I know that I definitely made the right decision because this past fall semester I played on the club soccer team at the U, and I got another concussion and was like,
Oh
okay, it's
man.
probably a good thing I didn't go play because I would have just I would have like brain damage or something if I went and played legitimate collegiate soccer. So I think I made the
Mm-hmm.
right call there, and I'm happy with it, and I'm at peace with how my soccer career went and everything like that. I had great experiences as a youth player, making friends and everything. If anyone hears this and is like thinking about how long they wanted to play college soccer and everything, and just things change, it's just I think it's okay if you love the game but have to take a different path and do something else. So that's my concussion story that I wanted to kind of share. It was very good. I like to think sometimes I like to think of my life as like a movie, and I think it was good character development, that whole concussion that I had. It was I think it sucked in the moment, but I think it ended up being good for me. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I'll definitely coach one day, and I think that I have a pretty good soccer knowledge. I could do some good things with that. So, yeah.
You have a good mentor.
Yeah, I do have a very good mentor. And like most of my knowledge comes from him. So, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where that ended.
Any other advice that you want to give any players of today?
I would say care about your team more than your own individual performance and outcomes and stuff like that. And if you do that, good things will follow for yourself. So rather than going out on the field and just thinking about what you need to do for yourself to get noticed or things like that, you just have to play with your team and play the system, and things will align themselves. I guess the other thing I could say, enjoy it. You even just practices, like even if you go and play college soccer, pro soccer, whatever, you're still going to miss the days of going to youth practice and being with all your buddies, even doing the hard stuff. Like I think about like having to run sprints and stuff like that, and I wish I could go back. So just enjoy it while it lasts. You don't need to think too far into the future about what you're going to do after you're out of high school. I think while you're there, you should really try and just enjoy the moment.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it won't last forever, and it's some of the best days of your life.
Yeah. One question. What is some of your favorite tournaments you went to?
Definitely Hawaii when we went there for regionals, just because, the location, it was super cool. We didn't do very good at that regionals because we were a little
Mm-hmm.
younger, but just the overall experience was really fun being there, and, going to the beach and stuff. That was super fun. I really enjoyed Dallas Cup too, because we got to meet like a lot of international players and stuff like that, and watch like Premier League academies play and play against some out of country teams. That was super cool. One Las Vegas tournament was one of my favorites just because of something that happened, and you were there for this too. You'll remember this. It was I think it was called Mayor's Cup. I can't remember for sure. It was a tournament in Vegas though, and the winner got to go to
Mm-hmm.
Spain. And we ended up not winning, but my favorite part wasn't even soccer related. It was while we were in the hotel, and this is just good for, funny team stories. While we were in the hotel, it was time to go to bed, and Justice had a rule of turning in our phones at 10:30, and for whatever reason, three morons on the team forgot to turn in their phones. And rather than, I probably would have just kept my phone and dealt with the consequences in the morning, these geniuses decided to go and set their phones in front of Justice's door, which he had you and I think you guys had your kids there
Mm-hmm.
too, and just knock on the door at midnight and just book it. I don't know what they were thinking there. They decided to do that just to, I guess, in simple terms, it was at like 12:30 or whatever when my room. We were all in bed asleep. We got a knock at the door, and it was Justice, and he said, "Get everyone out to the elevator." The whole team went out to the elevator, and we had a good little team discussion, I guess you could call it. That was a pretty good memory. I think about that and laugh all the time. I'm trying to think of another tournament though, because you're right. We did do a lot of really fun out of state tournaments. Honestly, anything in Florida was super fun. So like not just the national championship, when we had National League out in Florida, that was super fun too because we were in a hotel that was like right next to the fields, and it was, I would probably say it was like the nicest fields we've ever played on too. That one was super fun. And just being in Florida for the first time, and like I'm pretty sure I hadn't been to Florida before, and we went to like downtown Disney. That was super fun. Everyone was ready to leave, but I was having a great time at downtown Disney. I don't know. I guess I'm the only one on the team who loved Disney, but yeah, that was super fun too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Good memories.
and I guess the list could go on and on of tournaments, but those were some of the good ones. I thought of another tournament that was really fun. Anytime we went to NHB Cup, which was Huntington Beach, was super fun. Like, because we go to the beach, the games were really fun, like nice fields and everything. That was like I think that tournament was our first taste of playing against California teams. And that was when we were younger too, so there wasn't guys like in academies yet. We were playing against like some of the best to the best, and there was some really
Mm-hmm.
really good players we played against. Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
that was really fun too.
If there's anything else that you want to add, go ahead and add it.
One other thing I guess I could say was I just always liked how most teams have, just one captain, and for years we had two captains. It was me and Carson, and that was always one of my favorite parts of the team because when we were younger, for a little while, I thought like, is he gonna have someone step down and we just have one captain? But for the whole way, me and Carson were always captains together, and I really kind of like the idea of having two captains because we like complemented each other really well, and we like did different things for the team, and it was super fun, and like that led to us being best buddies. Yeah, we just did different teams for the team. Like I was usually kind of the one who was like just kind of a calming presence on the field and like patting guys on the back and stuff like that when they do something wrong and telling them they'll get it next time. And Carson was more the type to get after the ref. No, he did that and a lot of other things, but we just worked really well together. I don't know. I really like the idea of more than one captain for especially a
Mm-hmm.
youth team.
Yeah, and you guys were really good together.
Yeah, we totally were.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing, and thanks for coming on here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was very excited. So yeah, I had a blast.
Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I enjoyed doing it. And again, Jonah, thank you so much for doing that. Please make sure you give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and share Jonah's story. Share it on Instagram, share the podcast episode, and support the podcast so that it can reach more listeners like you. Thank you guys so much. I've loved hearing from people that have already listened to the podcast. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to those that have already given me a review on Apple Podcasts. I really do appreciate it a lot. I'm excited to continue this journey, and thank you guys for kicking it with me. Have a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at kickitwithkatie podcast _ between all the words. You can reach out to me with questions at kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. I also have a feature with SpeakPipe where you can leave me your own voicemail message if you want to be featured on the podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.